Is it, that the minister himself is unreasonable, putting all these demands on you, and then in which case I have to manage myself? Or is it really just an isolated, and it is his perception? Then I think you need to put it back to him to say that, hey, I have an entire department who's like that. Everybody wants to have this. What should we do?
Welcome back to our AMA segment, our Ask Me Anything segment, where Gerald and I always take on a work-related question that you have sent to us. But this time, we brought our own support team.
Yes, so for the first time, I'm not going to be the one giving the answers. Since we have Manpower Minister Tan Leng with us, as well as Minister of State for Education, Huang, earlier in our discussion, so we kind of asked them, right? Would they be able to be the career advisor for this episode? So they will be the ones giving us the advice.
Our listener, who I'll call James, wrote saying, I have several woke employees. Do we need to Google acronym? Okay, like woke, okay? Who keep talking and whining about work-life balance, boundaries, and doing exactly what they are told, nothing more. I've had it up here with them. How do I manage them? Do both of you actually have people like that in your team?
The team that I actually work with, it's amazing. It's a godsend. So I haven't had to deal with such nature. But just thinking a lot, my response would be to tell the person who comes to me in the same way that I have to deal with this person who's like that. What advice would you give to me?
Oh, so you turn the question back to them. So if someone comes to you and say, oh, like Mintan or Mosgan, I'm overworked, I need time out. I need to go and take care of, like, I don't know, my fur kid or whatever. You guys are pushing my boundaries. I got mental health issue right now. And how do you deal with that though?
First and foremost, I have to understand if really it is the issue itself is just his own perceived sort of issue. That means it's a perception issue, or whether it's real. I have to investigate. If it's real, of course, then I have to really talk to his supervisors and department heads and say that, look, I think we need to think about it. Is it, that the minister himself is unreasonable, putting all these demands on you, and then in which case I have to manage myself? Or is it really just an isolated, and it is his perception? I think that's first and foremost most important.
Okay.
Now, if it is really the way you've couched the question that he's the problem, then I think you need to put it back to him to say that, hey, I have an entire department who's like that. Everybody wants to have this. What should we do?
What would you do if you were in my shoes? Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Mosca?
Well, I've been working for 30 years, and I have come across teammates who were not really pulling their weight. Just one person I remember, she's in the late 20s, quite disruptive, often absent from work. Finally, we found out that she was having some problem at home, and also some mental well-being issues, right? We looked at how the colleagues around could support her. Also did a performance appraisal process with her to make her understand the requirements of her work and how her absence was actually affecting other colleagues around, because the colleagues had to carry the load when she was absent.
Yes.
Eventually, we had to let her go. Yeah, but it was, I think, done in the interest of the individual. So that she could take time to recharge, recover.
Okay.
Right. So it wasn't about, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, we're going to remove you straight away.
Yeah.
But rather come from the perspective of trying to understand what difficulties that person might be going through. Yeah. And if there's a way for us to support the person, good. If not, we have to find ways to on the way forward, so that it's fair to everyone in the office.
On one part, it's about communicating, finding out a little bit more what's happening, what's below the surface. May have to talk a little bit about other issues outside of work that's causing work issues, right? And then, of course, Mintan was saying about co-creating. I think it's co-creating the solution. Like, what would you do?
Yeah.
I think that's an invitation to co-create. How might we make things better? How I acknowledge that you have your preferences, but how we can't give in fully. So what's the middle ground that we can reach? Right?
That's right. Well, I've also seen colleagues who, because of certain seasons in life, maybe the parent elderly parent was very ill, and this colleague has to spend more time taking care of the elderly parent, and going to the hospital for medical appointments, putting in place proper caregiving arrangements. I think it's necessary that we understand such circumstances and try to make adjustments for that period, providing some flexibility in the work arrangements, getting other colleagues to also understand, what it takes, especially if this colleague is a good performer, usually, and you want to keep him or her.
When I first read this question, I felt it was coming from obviously a lens that, it sounded like this employee is a very young employee, because we tend to talk about younger employees as being more woke, right? And I guess from this person's point of view, they are already seeing it as, I feel that you are whining about your needs. But it's true. I mean, if we can come to this point of time where I can try to understand what your needs are, maybe I will see it less as whining, but I would see it more as like a cry for help. So I guess for James, perhaps it could be, like what we all say is just, making sure that you can sit down with this person, try and reduce your preconceived notion already about the worker. And if this person is a high performer, then you need to try and find ways to make it more efficient for them to work, whether through flexi time, load, place, or whatever that is easy for them to be able to pull their weight at work too.
But I don't think we should be stereotyping to say that this is a young employee,
True,
because
it
it can
could
happen
be,
at any stage.
True. It could be any stage. Yeah, you're right as well. I mean, I probably have been accused of being a bit more woke as well. Who knows, right? Out there in this office, someone is like gossiping about me.
I think James has to do something.
Yes.
You cannot let this go on, because if not, you have someone who's slowly being these are behaviors of disengagement, right? And then it will become very unproductive, and it will have its effect on the team. So James must do something about this. You cannot just let it be. Yeah. So hopefully, James, this pod gives you some ideas about communicating and being upfront about it, engaging the employee, and also co-creating some solutions.
So it's been great that both of you are here, gamely taking over the role of career advisor, counselor. Thank you so much for your advice.
Thank you.
If you have a question for Gerald and I, do drop us a message. We are at cnapodcasts at mediacorp.com.sg. Or you can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, where a video version of this is at.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Tiffany. Have a super work week ahead.